There was no question that NewsCorp, really Rupert and Peter, understood it beyond any of the other media companies or investors.
So you had the guy with the money in the room, he said yes, deal's done.
20 minutes later.
How do you replicate success? Today we're speaking with Richard Rosenblatt, who in 1999 sold iMall for $565 million. 5 years later, he sold a little company called MySpace to NewsCorp for $580 million. Now he's co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Demand Media. Richard Rosenblatt, welcome to Dog and Pony.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, we're going to start you out with a little segment we call Once Around the Track. That's where I ask you a series of questions to which you give me quick answers. We'll do as many as we can in about 30 seconds.
Wow, okay, I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Where are you from?
San Fernando Valley.
Who was your childhood hero?
Steve Garvey.
Best club in L.A.?
Air-conditioned Venice.
Where's that?
Right on Venice and Rose.
Right on. Honor roll or dropout?
Combination.
What keeps you up at night?
Everything. I don't sleep much.
What's the worst name you've ever been called in business?
The worst name I've ever been called in business? Corporate.
Ooh, blonde or brunette?
My wife's brunette.
That wasn't the question,
That's
but
the
I'll
answer.
take it as an
That's the
answer.
answer.
All right, you've been once around the track. What are the first problems you solved when you got to Intermix?
There were so many. I mean, there were so many. If you knew the story of Intermix, when I came in as CEO, I mean, the company had just been delisted from NASDAQ. It was being investigated by the SEC. It was losing $4 million a quarter, and those were only the problems that were publicly facing. So we solved those right away. Right away, we dealt with all the legal issues. We, within the first quarter, got the company profitable, and then we really focused our resources on properties like MySpace.
It was a very high-profile acquisition when NewsCorp actually took over Intermix and MySpace. What was it that put those guys over the line, whereas Viacom came in second place?
So there were a number of people that thought the MySpace business model was exciting, but no one quite understood it because, you know, today people are finally realizing that it makes sense to advertise in social networks or communities. Back then, no one believed that advertisers would ever come. So, you know, there was a meeting between myself, Mr. Murdoch, Peter Chernin, and Ross, where I explained the business model very simply. I said that, you know, this is the perfect media company. The users generate their own content, so you have no content costs. The users invite their friends, so you have no distribution or customer acquisition costs, and all you need to do is sell the ads. Literally at that moment, we knew a deal was done. I mean, a deal was done that quick. We shook hands on a price, and you know, we then ran a process. But there was no question that NewsCorp, really Rupert and Peter, understood it beyond any of the other media companies or investors.
So you had the guy with the money in the room, he said yes, deal's done.
20 minutes later. But that's how he works. I'm sure he bought Dow Jones in about the same way. I mean, NewsCorp is an amazing company. I mean, they see spaces and they jump into them, and they don't ever look back.
So for a company that's that big and that established, they move that quickly.
Lightning.
What's the most fun you've had in your career?
The most fun event? Like, what's one thing that stands out? I mean, the most fun I've
Is
ever...
it more fun to build a company or cash the hell out?
You know, it's much more fun to build a company, but yeah, you know, after every single time that I've sold a company, I've actually been depressed afterwards.
Really?
Because, yeah, I mean, it
Your
seems
wife
like...
hasn't been, but
no, she hasn't been. But it's just been a little depressing because you get so excited about something, you really believe in it, then for factors sometimes out of your control, like they're willing to pay a very high price, or you have shareholders, you have to sell it and think about what's next. So that's the hardest part. The most fun event was definitely that meeting that I described, where, you know, somebody like a Rupert Murdoch and a Peter Chernin, who you've always read about and thought about, and as you're kind of a growing media executive, as I saw myself, a new media entrepreneur, you've always think about these people, and then you actually see them and are able to do a deal and close, you know, a transaction that I'm most proud of because it created almost a new buzz within the market that allowed a lot of entrepreneurs to raise capital and continue on.
Walk me through sort of your mindset from the closing of that deal to sort of the founding of Demand Media.
So I did what I always do. The deal closes, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm now going to take some time, and I'm going to relax, or I'm going to spend time with my family. That literally didn't even last the full day. So, I mean, I was like, oh, my God.
But it was a great afternoon.
I'm going to miss out, right?
You went to the mall.
I mean, this is my chance. I mean, how often do you get a chance to do it again? So there was no time. It was zero. I mean, within the next day, I was already thinking about, you know, what I can do at Fox to help Fox, or what I can do somewhere else. And I finally came down to the fact that I like starting things. But starting from scratch, it just wasn't something I wanted to do. So instead, instead of raising a fund or doing all the other potential things, I thought, why not raise a lot of money, buy a bunch of companies. I met this great guy named Sean Colo, who's one of the co-founders, and came up with kind of this concept of how to add social media through acquisitions.
Right.
And right now it's the best because I can do exactly what I want to do with a great group of people, and very fortunate to have access to capital.
So putting aside the financial event part of the question, where do you see demand in 2 to 3 years?
I hope to see us doing a very similar business plan that we're doing now, again, focused on what you can either call the wide body or the long tail of media, right? So the head of media is finance and auto, right? The wide body is stuff like we own the biggest golf site, the biggest hiking site, trails.com, right? We own some of the biggest gaming sites. The long tail we also own lots and lots of very niche websites like birding.com and others. We hope to continue to build strength in the wide body and the long tail, in niche verticals where people are extremely passionate about and want to produce content. So in 2 to 3 years, I hope we have thousands, literally thousands of developed websites with hundreds of millions of users that are very passionate about those verticals.
Tell me about ChannelMe.tv.
So ChannelMe is a great program. We launched it with Carson Daly, who's a good friend, has been just an amazing advocate of the company. The reason why we launched it with Carson, as we'll tell you about ChannelMe, is we believe that everyone should have their own channel. That, again, you said we're not like traditional media. We believe in a bottoms-up media company where the user can program their own content and invite all their friends. So it's the anti-portal approach. It's not about one large social network. It's about millions of little social networks that you control. Carson's a perfect example, right? He's a very well-known person on NBC that can produce any content he wants. He wants to own his own content. He wants to create his own channel. So using that as a guide, we've been able to have, thousands of people create their own channels, such as Richard.tv that I have, or thousands of others about either themselves or about very niche verticals.
What's the advantage? Why would I not want to go on Facebook and see the same kind of content?
So there's two different people. I still think Facebook and MySpace are going to continue to be wildly popular for a very broad type of audience. There's a much more niche type of audience that really just wants to interact with their friends and also, more importantly, wants to make money from their website. They don't want to have it blocked. They don't want to be told what content's on there. They don't want new features thrown at them.
All right, Richard, now's the segment we call None of Your Business. And this is where I ask you slightly impolite questions to which you can either provide an answer or tell me none of my business in whatever colorful way you'd like to do that. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. What's the most extravagant thing you've ever bought?
A Ferrari.
Nice.
After I sold iMall, but I still haven't driven it yet because I've literally put 2,000 miles on it in the last 7 years.
Where is it?
Just sitting in the garage with a dead battery.
What model is it?
550.
Why don't you drive it?
I don't know. It's kind of embarrassing to own a Ferrari, so I can't believe I just told you. But I'm going to be honest about it.
How much did you pocket in the Intermix deal?
You can check that in the public filings.
Carson Daly obviously has dirt on you. What is it?
That's none of your business.
Okay. And then lastly, have you ever seen Carson Daly eat a carbohydrate?
Yes, I have, many times. I've also seen him, though, puke it up afterwards. So, just kidding, Carson.
Cool. All right, one last thing. Anything you want to plug before you take off?
No, I think we talked about our websites, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Cool. All right, Richard Rosenblatt, chairman, co-founder, and CEO of Demand Media, and a whole lot of other stuff. Thanks for being on Dog and Pony. And as always, if you've got questions, comments, or suggestions for upcoming guests, you can email me, Paul Ollinger, at paul@dogandpony.tv. Thanks. See you later. Dog and Pony, Dog and Pony.